Breaking information coming in right now. Fox News is reporting, and others, that the United States have expelled their top Syrian diplomats from Washington and joining other nations in protest of the killing. So what the United States is doing is they're taking the top Syrian diplomats that are in Washington right now under the Assad government, and they're saying, you know what, we're done with you guys. We're sending you back. We're not recognizing your government no more. You're murdering, you're massacring. The mayhem, the meanness, the maliciousness, the massacring, the mutilation, the people, there's dead bodies everywhere. Grandmother being shot in the head. There's just chaos and confusion, murder. As President Assad continues to crack down on his own people who want him removed. Now, Jeremiah 49 says this, and then I'm going to read this article to you. Concerning Damascus, Hamath is confounded in Arpad, for they have heard evil tidings. They are faint-hearted. There is sorrow on the sea. It cannot be quiet. Damascus is waxed feeble, and turneth herself to flee, and fear has seized on her. Anguish and sorrows have taken her as a woman in travail. How is the city of praise not left, the city of my joy? Therefore her young men shall fall in her streets, and all the men of war shall be cut off. In that day, saith the Lord of hosts, and I will kindle a fire in the walls of Damascus. Now let's go quickly. There's another, that was Jeremiah chapter 49, verses 23 through 27, prophesied by the ancient prophet Jeremiah. But the prophet Isaiah said it in one verse. In Isaiah chapter 17, verse 1, he prophesied and said, the burden of Damascus, behold, Damascus is taken away from being a city, and it shall be a ruinous heap. Now, Damascus is a city of over 3,000 years old. That's never happened before. It was prophesied by the same prophet, Isaiah, who said, behold, a virgin shall conceive and bring forth a son, and his name shall be called Emmanuel, God with us. He prophesied in Isaiah 53 of the crucifixion of Christ. Every prophetic word he's ever spoken has come to pass. Well, most of them. There's a few that haven't, and this is one of them. This is one of them. Damascus, Syria, being completely destroyed, or at least inhabitable as a city. You don't have to have a nuke kill everybody there to say, okay, it can be a city, it can be a place where people are at, but it's just not a functioning city. And it doesn't look like Assad's government is going to be recognized by the United States government or other nations as a functioning government. And if it's no longer a functioning government, then folks, it won't be long that Damascus will no longer be a functioning city. It's dysfunctional, absolutely. Matter of fact, let's go now to this report coming out of Fox News, and others are reporting that the United States, I want to thank Stephen of Oklahoma, doing some excellent work this morning about the parachuting to North Korea. Now this, U.S. expelling its diplomats out of Washington, Syrian diplomats. The United States State Department is kicking out Syria's top diplomats to Washington, joining several other countries expelling the Syrian officials in a bid to increase pressure on the leader Bashar Assad after recent civilian killings. Fox News confirms that the State Department has told Syria to charge to get out of Washington officials from a series of countries, including France, Britain, and Australia, also today, on this Tuesday, May 29th, 2012, that they're expelling the Syrian diplomats as well. The killings on Friday, a collection of farming villages in Syria's Homs province, were one of the deadliest single events in the 15-month-old uprising against Assad's rule. The United Nations said 49 children and 34 women were among the 108 killed. You see, this wasn't... Assad is not just fighting the Free Syrian Army. He's not just fighting the rebels that are trying to overthrow him. He's been doing this, folks, for 15 months. I've been reporting this time and time and time again, that he will fight against the rebels and then turn and look at a neighborhood and just go kill a bunch of people. He's been doing it. Blowing up apartment buildings. Pulling grandmother out of the bed in the middle of the night and shooting her in the head. Turning the soccer stadium into a makeshift prison. Torturing people. Killing the people. I mean, come on. Finally, the world is starting to open its eyes when you have 49 dead children and 34 dead women. Assad is literally taking this thing beyond the scope of trying to squelch some unruly, dissident citizens. This is an entire nation that has called for him to go. His father ruled that nation for 32 years with a rod of iron. People forget the fact that Assad's daddy is attributed to the execution, murder, and the mayhem of over 80,000 people. And now Bashir Assad, who's been in charge for 12 years, is estimated now over 11,000 dead people, and 50,000 have fled the country. They went into Turkey and Jordan and Lebanon, and now even in Lebanon, fighting is continuing. Listen, the chairman of the Joint Chief of Staffs, General Dempsey, has already said this thing is out of control. The atrocities are beyond the scope of imagination. The time for talking is over. It's time to take military intervention, and as far as the U.S. military is concerned, they are more than ready. The battle plan's in place. Now, of course, that doesn't mean that we're going to do it. That decision comes down to the President of the United States of America. And, of course, the NATO forces have to reconvene and discuss if that should be the plan, or at least a no-fly zone. Because when NATO put a no-fly zone over top of Libya, it didn't take long then for the rebels to get some fresh artillery and to march in and finally take Muammar Gaddafi out of power. The only reason Assad is still in power 15 months later is the Russians have kind of had his back, and NATO has not intervened with a no-fly zone, and the United Nations can't come up to a full understanding among the 5 permanent members of the United Nations Security Council. And I could care less. Somebody sent me an email the other day that says, do you think what? Do you think the United Nations has power now? Well, the United Nations is in the way as far as I'm concerned. They've always been in the way of every situation. They're always on the wrong side of history. I mean, anytime you got Kofi Annan running around. So, he's still meeting with Assad, wringing his hands, trying to come up with a solution. While the Americans, the British, the French, and the Australians are kicking the diplomats out of the country and are putting a battle plan together. You got to understand something. Will Russia and American forces fight over Syria? I don't think so. I don't think so. But I'm telling you, folks, this world we're living in is not safe. There's nukes everywhere. And are you saved? The economies are collapsing. There's wars and rumors of wars. There's problem everywhere, folks. I want you to give your life to Jesus Christ. We'll be back. I'm telling you, the Bible says in the last days there will be wars and rumors of wars. Nation would rise against nation, kingdom to kingdoms. I don't want war. If you think I'm wanting war, you're crazy. I don't want war. I don't want any war. I'd like to hear Assad resign today, leave the country, turn it over to one of the people of the Syrians, let them elect a new president, set up a new government, everybody hold hands and sing Kumbaya, and start singing Amazing Grace. But that's not going to happen. I'll be right back. Hang with me.